So it's
Okay.
late night.
Are we ready to go?
Rick?
Okay. Well, welcome to the late night chats, the regulars, and anybody who's new. I don't see anybody quite new. Um, so I was thinking, so most of you, I mean, you all know that there's somebody that is probably new. Anyway, we're reading uh, Darwin Shaw's book, Effort and Grace, and we read it and then discuss it. But I wanted to say this one thing. This is, and I say this from time to time, this is one of the major approaches to Baba, but it's not the only one. You know, this is more of a conscious inner approach to Baba that leads to self-effacement. But one time years ago, we were having Effort and Grace meetings here in Myrtle Beach, and there was at the end, one of the people that was there was a long time Baba person, worked at the center here, much loved by everyone and much loved by the Mandali. And at the end of our, discussion, usual normal discussion, he said, "I don't even know what you people are talking about." So what I mean is that here's an entirely different approach, and yet he is solidly there with Baba. So some of the stuff that we might discuss here, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't think that you're missing out on something. There's many different ways of going through this to arrive at Baba's doorstep, you might say. So, um, let's, JCMA, if you can put up that email. And, some of you people, if you don't get the email, let JCMA know, because he can put you on the list. I don't quite know how to do it. Okay. Marta,
Are
you
we
got
ready?
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I thought you were going to choose Sabine. I don't know why.
Really? Okay, good.
Okay. The topic, our inner barometer. Dear folks of Baba, in this chapter, Darwin introduces the metaphor of an inner barometer for reading our internal weather. Is the sun coming out, or are we heading toward a cloudy day? As our awareness turns away from being primarily focused on the outer world toward the heart center within, we begin to see the ever-changing dynamic of emotions, desires, and the deeper feelings. We begin to observe more of what is clouding our awareness and what is letting in the light. This is not an intellectual or mental approach to our interior based on theory and belief, but an actual first-hand reading of our heart center using awareness itself and not the mind. The mind can only take momentary snapshots of our heart, whereas our awareness can view the whole panoramic film of what is taking place in our heart center. We may ask ourselves, what is the effect of this emotion that is now moving through my heart? Where is it leading? Is this impulse I'm feeling aligned with love, or is it reinforcing something selfish in me? Is this deeper feeling flowing into me, bringing in more light? From Darwin, we learned that we could be proactive in creating our inner environment with Baba. Prior to that, in my youth, my attitude was to just let things happen as they will, a more passive approach. By being proactive inwardly, we are able to head off unwanted and binding impulses closer to their source and give them energetically to Baba before they project themselves into action. The practice of scanning our interior, which Darwin and also Erich greatly encouraged, is something we can do in spare moments throughout the day. Baba has said, that as we put into practice those things that partake of the light using our intuition, more intuition will be awakened in us. Rather than viewing life through the lens of the past and the imagined future, which is our age-old habit, we make efforts to stay more and more in the present moment and view our life instead through insight and intuition, which are faculties of the deeper heart. In all of this, Baba is always working intimately and continuously with us, though it may take a long time to see that this is so. The work of heading off unwanted impulses, desires, and emotions is what Baba calls the process of sublimation. The lower selfish impulses are exchanged for the expression of our better angels, our loving responses. This process is not easy, but requires tremendous and ongoing efforts, as we are often struggling against the age-old power of selfish inclinations. But as Darwin would say, this effort of giving our negative side to Baba does not lead us into a void, because this loss is being replaced simultaneously by an increasing measure of inner freedom that leads us toward a higher and more loving expression. Thus, as Baba has said, anger is sublimated into patience and tolerance, greed and possessiveness into generosity, and desires and cravings into purity. We become adept at picking up the first vibration of anger, the initial feeling of possessiveness, or the first sensation of desire, and give these to Baba. Our negative and selfish reactions are gradually transmuted into loving responses, and all the energy that was locked up in our reactions is transmuted and released into longing for Baba and the divine. Darwin speaks of peace of heart, which is much more difficult to achieve than peace of mind, for the impulses, desires, and emotions of the heart are much more intense and require great effort to bring them under a natural control. The quote of Baba, often repeated by Darwin over the years, was, "All finiteness and limitation is subjective and self-created." He would say that we are beneficiaries of unlimited freedom, and through our inner efforts, we can help Baba to help us rise to the highest in ourselves. We have only to catch the prevailing breeze of his grace. Faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. Rumi. As Baba lovers, I'm sure we all have our own version of this practice, checking in with our interior state. What is your unique approach of tuning into the heart? How does it help you as you respond to the daily situations you find yourself in? Do you find that this practice brings you into a great intimacy with Baba? In his love, Jeff. We continue on page 20.
Thank you, Sabine. Beautiful. I like your enunciation. It's so clear. um, before we go in, hey, that's amazing. Some of these things, they have these things that float up now from your screen. Um, so before we kind of get into the text, is there anything to say about that? Does that resonate with you? What Darwin is talking about, the inner barometer? I mean, anyone that can is free to chime in. You guys, it's all makes perfect sense. And what about you, Diane? I'm just picking you right off the shelf here.
You're, I'm speechless. Actually, we spent the last 2 days with Ward Parks. He was doing his project.
Oh yeah.
Is on Francis Brabazon. And poetry is kind of in the same category for me as discourses and God speaks. It's very hard to penetrate, and without me going away and my mind thinking of other things. But what I got from him, as he interpreted so much of Francis's poetry, how you were talking about what we're doing here with effort and grace and Darwin. These are both, it's the same thing that Ward is doing. He's showing us the way that Francis came to Baba, and Francis honored Baba through his poetry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, reading Francis, if you can understand what he's saying, I mean, just the logistics of it, you're getting a point blank picture of what it's like to be right, shoulder to shoulder with the avatar. And there are things there that he says that there are nuggets of insights and truths that you can find in his writing that are, can be very helpful in your own inner life, I find. Too bad we don't have Rainey Eastman to read the poetry for us, to serve it up. But anything else to mention about that? I mean, does the inner barometer resonate with you? I mean, do you find yourself kind of scanning your interior to see what's going on down there at the heart level? Well, you guys got it all figured
Yes,
out.
Bob. Bob has something.
Well,
Okay, yeah, Bob.
yeah, the thing that comes to me is that when I'm having a really busy day, and I tend to try to think of Bob as much as I can, but I forget constantly, especially when I'm really busy with something. But then when something happens, like I don't know, a couple of months ago, I made a pot of coffee and I didn't get the pot quite under the spigot, and I went off and did something else and came back, and my whole counter and the floor was covered with coffee. And instantly, instantly I thought of Baba and got calm about it instead of getting angry and trying to figure out how he's going to clean this mess up and what was all that. And so it was, for me, that's very helpful. If I can think of Baba when something like that happens and bring a calmness into whatever it is that's going on, I don't know if that relates to the inner
Yeah.
barometer, but it does for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're heading off the reaction in favor of a kind of more harmonious response, more, yeah.
Right. And it could be, so instead of being irritated or angry, whether it's with a coffee pot or with a human being, I can, it really helps to, yes, to push that in a different direction.
Yeah. Just make sure you don't come over to Bob's place for coffee, because you never know where it's come from. Okay.
Anita.
Hi, everyone. Jay Baba.
Hey, Anita, let me ask you, do you get the emails? Do they come to you?
I do, yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I find, the inner barometer, I find it very helpful. But what I get stuck in is that sometimes when I'm faced with, you get that inner unease, it's the ego then chimes in and thinks, okay, something's wrong, I have to fix it, or self-judgment comes in. It's like, oh, something's wrong with you, and you can get stuck in that when you're in that ego mindset, and unless you actually stop and remember Baba in that moment, it's often getting into fixing mode. Like that barometer is like you get that feeling, but it's yeah, that's where I get stuck sometimes. This is something I wanted to bring up, and I'm curious what if other people get faced with that. And yeah.
Yeah, very good. In other words, you go to the unease and that you've done something wrong, a judgment gets slapped on it rather than actually dealing with the whatever the vibration or the the emotion that's happening down there at the
Yeah,
heart
like
level.
the ego wants to make it feel like it's wrong or you're wrong because it doesn't want to just be with what's there. It's uncomfortable to just stay in the present and breathe. And Baba fortunately helps us with that, and that's why we have to hold on to him and almost surrender to him to help us, because we as ourself as a separate self can feel so helpless and alone and struggle with that, and or we can get stuck in the mind and start trying to think and solve and analyze. So
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I know. One thing that I gathered from Darwin and Erich is it's if you can kind of be with the emotion in its raw form without letting the mind come in and see it through, as uncomfortable as it might be. It's something passing through, but once you put your mind on it, then you're stopping the whole operation, and then you have to unpack it and all this kind of stuff. It's very hard to have the patience to let it run itself through without, jumping in and trying to fix it, or, what's wrong with feeling uncomfortable for a half hour, you know, frightened for a half hour. But we say, no, I don't want to, I shouldn't feel frightened. What's wrong with me? You know, but
yes, exactly.
so I've, it's, but anyway, let's go on and see what other people have to say here. Yeah.
Christina.
Yeah, so I'm happy to report that that I'm being less reactive, especially in the situations where I'm driving. And I had an experience the other day where, I was reacting to someone honking at me, and it was just about to react, just But I heard, something come through, and it was that saying, say only what you would say in front of Baba, do only what you would do in front of Baba. And so it was, it just came through like, would you do this in front of Baba? And it was just like, I would not. And it really,
Beautiful.
it was really, it was a really like wonderful moment of just like letting go. I mean, I let it go kind of slowly. It just like let it slip through my fingers kind of like a kite string. I didn't just let it go, but it eventually it did go and it dissipated, and I didn't have any sort of animosity or a residue of feelings that I would normally would when I'm driving on the crazy streets here. So
Yeah.
it's helped with road rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, what Bob is referring there to, sublimation. You were able to sublimate into,
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Robert.
Jay Bob, everybody.
Yeah.
This past week and a half has been some of the most it's probably the most challenging time of my life physically. I threw my back out, and then on top of that, I got very, very sick. It's been absolutely horrible, but at the same time, I've learned so much from it, and started having more of an appreciation for Baba for the physical suffering that he went through, and also just feeling like just being brought closer to Baba by the suffering. and letting go of any, complaints and just doing what I have to do and trying to be a cheerful spirit in spite of suffering. And it's been a real blessing. Actually, I had a thought the other day is that someone said, "Oh, there's, I hope you feel better soon." And I had a thought, well, no, I kind of like suffering. It's getting me closer to God. So, don't, I mean, it's like, it's okay. Suffering is okay. It has its blessings. I remember hearing Baba talk about, well, there was a YouTube video on his talk on World War II, where that he was talking about the many blessings of World War II, like how people became more selfless and they became more unified. And then we're speaking about the blessings of war, which is I never heard anyone talk about that before. So that really blew my mind. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, I think, but
Yeah, no, very much to the point, Robert. Beautiful.
thank you.
Yeah.
Ron.
Well, what Bob was saying reminded me of an anecdote I heard years ago. And it was from a scientist who claimed that his mother was his greatest inspiration to become a scientist. And he talked about when he was about 4 years old, he went to the refrigerator on his own and got out a gallon of milk, a jug, 4 years old, and started to pour it into a glass, and it just fell out of his hands, and it fell on the kitchen floor and was spilling all over the place.
You
And the
mean kind of
mother,
like Bob?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it made me think of. But then his mother came in and looked at it, and she said, "Oh, looks like there's been a spill here." So, well, I just have this idea. Why, as long as you've got this milk, like this big puddle here, why don't you play in it for a little bit, and then I'll get back to you, and then we can help clean it up. So that was her first thought, that he should just play in it, because there it was. It was already there. He would probably enjoy it. Then she comes in and says, "All right, well, now it's time to clean it up. So should we use this mop?" And she shows him the mop. "Or should we use these sponges?" And he picked one of them, whatever it was. And then they proceeded to clean it up. And then she gave him a little lesson on how he could better hold and pour the milk from the jug. So it was like an all-round wonderful parenting, or teaching, and compassion, and love of fun, and appreciation, without being angry at him or anything like that. And I just love that that somebody would come up with something like that. And I think maybe Baba does that for us too.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Arthur.
Yeah, hi everybody. Well, it all sounds real good. I especially like Bob's what he was talking about when little things go wrong. I've been on that for about 6 months heavy, and every time I knock something over or I'm in a hurry, I'm trying to get something done so I can do something else, I knock it over, and the strangest things happen. And I just feel like Bob was I said, "Okay, Bob, that was a good one," instead of getting upset, it reminds me of him. And so, I just want to read this one little bitty thing that's on this subject, and it's Bob is saying it, and he's talking to the Westerners. He says, "You Westerners always worrying about the right decision or the wrong decision. Don't you know I made the decision long ago? There is no such thing as a mistake. All that matters is the motive behind the decision. Are you doing it for me, or are you doing it for yourself?" So I thought that kind of applied here.
Arthur, read that again. That is a fabulous quote.
Yeah, you Westerners always worrying about the right decision or the wrong decision. Don't you know I made the decision long ago? There is no such thing as a mistake. All that matters is the motive behind the decision. Are you doing it for me, or are you doing it for yourself? So it tells me that you're going to, we learn more from our mistakes, I do believe, or at least they stick with you longer, than we do from, Baba shows you a lot of times how not to be. It's right there in front of you. Don't be like this, it's obvious. And so all the little setbacks and everything you think are setbacks, I just feel now that it's Baba setting me up so I go through the realization I need to make so that I can go on and go further. And I'm just it's like he was talking about the suffering thing. That too. When you're suffering, you're getting closer to God, and boy, it takes the pressure off of you if you know that. If you're worried about it, if you did something wrong and you're suffering because of that, and blah blah blah, it's not the route to go.
Excellent. I know Eric said the purpose of creation. So, is that me? I'm getting an echo.
I think Ron and Arthur need to mute themselves.
Okay. Yeah. I was just saying that Eric said the purpose of creation. This was in Mandalay Hall, and someone was about ready to go to sleep, but he perked up. The purpose of creation is to remind you to remember him. So anything that happens, and sometimes, you stub your toe or you get run into, something. Some of those moments are the most intense remembrance of Baba than when things are going smoothly. Okay, so let's go to Jay Sema. Can you put up the effort and grace? What was it, page 18 or something? Yeah.
Rich, you want to read? Rich?
Yes, sure, I'll read.
Thank
I
you.
gotta open my screen back up. I was trying to read Jeff intro there. I didn't get it today. Sanskaric potholes. It is a delicate undertaking to gain control of one's thoughts and feelings without any coercion at all. Effort, yes, but not coercion. It becomes a matter of seeing through the sanskaric complexes, which are based on erroneous knowledge, beliefs, and limitations, and being resourceful enough to take evasive action. All this in relation to one's own specific sanskaras. It's like going for a walk on a known route. We come to know the wet, slippery areas, the potholes, and where the route leads. The first few times we might make a mistake and fall into a puddle. But soon we get enough sense to walk on the other side of the road or choose a different place to step. When we have learned from experience where our sanskaras lead, we come to know what we have to redirect them, that we have to redirect them early. After a while, we can see the beginning of sanskaric pressures and start to counteract them at their earliest manifestation. It is like the railroad worker observing a train peacefully chugging along. Suddenly, he noticed a rogue train barreling down the same track from the opposite direction. He quickly throws a switch in order to divert the rogue train to a sidetrack. Then he smiles as the first train, now out of danger, whizzes by. The first train represents truth, and the rogue train represents ignorance due to our sanskaras. We can learn to take subliminal, evasive action to switch our train of thoughts and feelings at the first sign of impending trouble. We have to learn to maneuver the mind so that we have more control, not willful repression, but a redirection of our energy so that we experience more inner freedom. Eventually, the thought patterns are no longer able to control us. Instead, they come under our control. This is not blind control because it is backed by understanding and subservience to truth itself. Gradually, we become aware that everything really is illusion, and we become a channel of love, a river of love, an ocean of love. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Anyone have anything to say to that?
Jeff, can I ask you a question? This is Paula.
Yeah.
Did you say that the purpose of suffering was that was Erich that said that?
The purpose of creation
Oh, of
It-
creation.
is to remind us to remember the Lord.
Okay.
Not its purpose isn't to get ahead in life. It's to remind us of Him.
Thank you.
Rich, do you have?
Oh, Rich, yeah. Sorry.
I was just gonna mention that, I'm kind of, I've become aware of this whole thing, Jeff, in exactly the way you've expressed it, but as Darwin is describing it. And to be blunt about it, I don't really have this mastered at all. I mean, it very much. I can see it sometimes, like coming at me, right? Or I'm in the middle of a thought, or let's say I'll tell you where I get really wound up in things is if I get critical. Oh, that garden looks crummy. Why don't they take the weeds out of there, Just walking by, leave the poor guy alone. It's his garden. But I do it. I just do it. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like if I kind of cherry pick the world for the loving things, because there's plenty of things that irritate me when I'm looking out, if there's not love in it, I better move on to something else. Because I'm just kind of confirming the reality of illusion in my consciousness, so to speak. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jim Friesen from Down Under writes
Yeah.
on the chat, can Jeff speak on the difference between sublimation and repression?
Okay.
And don't kill the messenger.
Yeah. Well, this is my understanding, and we tried to drag this out of Darwin in different ways, and Erich too. In suppression, you're aware of the anger in you or the jealousy in you. As disturbing as it is, you're completely aware of it. Repression, you're hiding it from yourself. You don't want to know that you're jealous or you are angry, or you're only aware, you're trying to, your ego doesn't want, your self-image is affected by what you're seeing in yourself, so you shut the door on that. Whereas suppression, you are fully aware of the whole emotion. Does that make sense? In other words, repression is a kind of willful blindness, and suppression, you are willing to see this very uncomfortable part of yourself without putting it in the closet and hiding it.
Jeff, I think he wanted to know the difference between sublimation
Oh,
and repression.
oh yes. Yeah, good. I got that mixed up. I mean, sublimation, well, yeah. Let me ponder this. I mean, I think of sublimation as you have a negative thing, and you're trying to favor, a more positive thing. And I don't know if repression comes in if you don't do anything with the negativity. But sublimation.
Repression seems like you force something too. Repression.
Yeah.
It's like forcing something.
Oh, good. Yeah. Help me out,
Oh,
some of you
yes,
folks.
Jennifer. Jennifer's going to help us.
I had looked this up before because it like totally confuses me. So I got to go to the dictionary. So, you think of things being sublime. So repression, I feel like repression is when you stuff everything back inside or stuff it back in, put it in the basement, put it in the closet. Don't want to look at it, but it's there and it's still kind of pounding at the door to get out, right? Still going to bubble up and maybe explode. Sublimation is like the recognition that something's going on, and you raise it to kind of a higher level. So I don't know, I'm not saying I can do that.
Yeah.
But I was watching, because I'm trying not to watch politics. That's like, I'm just trying not to go there anymore. So what I do to sublimate that is I watch Baba videos. And today I was watching one that just short one, and Robert Dreyfus was talking, and it kind of reminds me of this. He was talking about being with the Mandali, and I can't remember exactly who or the exact details, but he talked about being in the room with them as he was doing some work, and two of the Mandali came in, and they were just like at each other, yelling, and I don't know that this is sublimation, but they were actually feeling the emotions they were feeling, but then they let it go. They kind of did it. It was done. And one of the Mandali could tell that Robert was kind of cowering in the corner a little bit, hoping not to be seen, and very calmly and cheerfully said, "Oh, did that bother you?" So I don't know where that fits in with
Yeah, and Audie said it didn't bother us.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Oh, that was it. And the comment was it didn't bother us. So is that in a way kind of sublimation that you move it through? It's what, Jeff, I've heard you say a bunch of times, where you experience the emotion, but it's kind of through the heart, even when it's the ones that a lot of people don't like, anger. But that's one that's the hardest to keep locked under cover. So is it sublimation when you express what needs to be expressed, but there's not attachment with it?
Yeah, I mean, that's sublimating into mock anger, where you express the anger, but you are not angry. It's hard to imagine. In other words, you express your irritation, but it doesn't have a barb in it, you know.
The heart's still open.
Yeah, it does. It's more of on a superficial level, but it's registering your objection to something going on, but you're not. You express anger, but not, Eric used to say you can express anger, but don't be angry. So you're basically sublimating the hardcore anger that has a barb in it to a fluffy form of a kind, a superficial mock anger. That has to eventually be in our toolbox, as Marion always says.
I think that sublimation, jumping in here, I always thought it was like a transference, a manipulation of energy from liquid to gas or something.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's repression, right? Repression is when you put a lid on something, and sublimation to me is something that you let morph into what it needs to morph into.
Yeah, thinking about it, what you found somebody who's being so good and nice and everything, but you can tell that they are really angry at something, or they are objection, but they're kind of putting on, they're being nice and sweet and everything, but you can tell that there's something underneath. That is repressing. That's a false type of sublimation. It's not the real thing.
Sublimation isn't making it look prettier on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about kind of raising the vibration. I think that's probably how Marion would describe it. Raising vibration of something too. And maybe that's the higher angels, right?
So
yeah.
I was looking through the text of Darwin's writing here, and I was just searching the word sublimate or sublimation, and it looks like he uses it in the sense of a redirection of energy, from
Exactly.
negative to something more heart-centered.
Yeah. But it's not like you're covering it up. You actually make the conversion from water to steam, so to speak, Okay.
Well, Rich, I'm going to pass for a second. Let go here, go. Now come back to you.
Yeah, I was just curious to know the actual meaning of sublimation, so I did look it up. And as it pertains to feelings, it says it means to change psychologically, to change the outlet or means of one's expression of desires and feelings from something unacceptable to something more culturally or socially acceptable. A person might sublimate feelings of grief towards a disaster, for example, by devoting their time and energy to relief efforts. So did that make any
Yeah, beautiful
clear it up a
example.
little? Yeah.
Yeah.
So to make it more, to elevate it, your feeling of sublimation is to elevate what you're feeling into something more loving and in that respect, or your effort to help out in some respect. So
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, I'll
answer.
make mine quick. I'm gonna put my 2 cents in here and say that I think psychologically, just as Goher has read it off and described it, it's operational, but in terms of the spiritual path and Baba, I don't think there is us sublimating anything. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in sublimation. I believe in transformation. It's kind of like what Diane was getting to. In transformation, you're trying to get the energy out, but how do you do it? And how do you become aware of it? And I personally, for me, it's Baba. Baba can do that in subtle ways. It's not always obvious, not like it's thrown in our face. You know, that's wrong and this is the right way. It's not like that. It's like you learn by realizing. And Jeff, you might have been, someone said it here, but it was that you don't put a barb in it, Jeff. You don't attack someone if it's that kind of energy. You gotta get the energy, become aware of it. But all you have to do is say something like, I'm not comfortable with that, or I don't agree with that. But you don't have to tell them, you're a loser and you never have known anything.
Very engaged in this topic.
Anyway, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, no, one of the things you're touching on is the highest form of sublimation, is to just go from your problem or your negative thing to remembrance of Baba. If that can be substantial enough that it can make the transformation or the sublimation. Sublimation means to make sublime. You know that, I mean, it's the word sublime, which is elevating our responses. Oh, good. We got Marion.
Yes, Marion.
Hi. Thank you, everyone. I think everybody's contribution is very valuable. And so I'm going to add mine in that, what I do, which everybody's different, and what works for me is knowing that sublimation is choice. And what is the other word?
Repression.
Repression, it's not in choice. It's in repression, it's a reactive state. It's not a feeling state. So feelings flow through the body and the energy field, they flow like a wave. Whereas reactions go back and forth. And if they're slowed down, they are like life or death. If I say this, I'll feel like I die. So I better get over here so I feel like and it's back and forth, life or death. That's a reaction. It's not a feeling. And a feeling is in sublimation, where I can very quickly sense in and then make a choice. So I'm not stuffing anything down. I am making a choice.
Yeah, a good way of viewing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Helen.
The root word is sublime.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah.
Ellen?
That's important to remember, because I always thought sub means like submarine goes down. So I always felt that it probably meant repression. Then one day I said, well, no, Bible doesn't really want that. What does Bible want? So I looked the word up, and it means to make sublime of something that's not, that is
worldly.
To turn it to lift it up and make it favorably meaningful.
Yeah.
Beneficial. Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you. Ralph, way
Alan?
down there in the corner. Yeah.
Thank you. So, events in and of themselves are neutral. And so, regardless of the situation, are we going to react or are we going to respond? And so, if we're able to step back and observe ourselves, then we can respond. And this is a form of sublimation. It's, as it was just said, it's choice.
Excellent. Yeah. That choice is really good. I'm glad Marion brought that in.
Yeah.
Robert?
Yeah, I just wish I've had some experiences of late that relate to this very much. I have had a couple of experiences where I felt hurt or angry with something that's been said to me. And what I've done is I've stepped back and just paused and looked at the whole of the relationship with the person and saw what value was in the relationship. And I expressed that first. I said, I recognize what you've given me and you've been a wonderful whatever. And this experience that I've had with you affected me in this way. And it hurt me. I say it in a very calm, respectful tone, rather, again, as like we were talking before about not coming from reaction. Reaction is always going to take it down the negative spiral. And so, but I've been learning to do that. And it's been very helpful. And it's actually been transformational in terms of the relationship and connection. One person, I saw her after this experience, and she gave me a hug. And another person just kind of respected what I had to say. It's coming from a place of respect for the other person, respect for me simultaneously. And that's what's been very transformational for me.
Yeah. Beautifully said, Robert. Beautiful. Yeah. So let's go on to the next, next chapter. JC.
Anita, do you want to read?
Sure.
Good.
All right. So, chapter 7, changing our values. If we take even one step, and we all know one step we could be taking right now, we begin to experience a little light and a little more of reality. After we take 2 or 3 steps, and then more steps, we see more and more light, and we begin to realize that we have been in a dream all along. Darwin Shaw. It takes a lot of deep inner working to weed out desires, give up our misconceptions, and overcome our false sense of limitation. To ferret these things out and boldly and daringly kick them out of our consciousness. However, it is not that we let go of all these impediments and get nothing in return. There is no permanent void created when we let go. Rather, a process of exchange takes place, or should take place. Meher Baba speaks throughout the discourses and elsewhere about letting go of the limitations of our ego life in favor of the Master's unlimitedness. It is not that we merely let go of the limitations, but that we receive and fully accept the unlimitedness of the truth. Therefore, we find that it is not a feeling of loss that we experience, but a sense of gaining something, some measure of inner freedom and fulfillment. Meher Baba is willing, even eager, to share his unlimited life with us. When we were with him physically, this was one of the most glorious things that we experienced, sharing in his infinite beauty and sweetness and indescribable freedom.
Beautiful.
Should I keep going or?
No, that's good. Let's stay with that. You know, I should mention, maybe I've mentioned it before, but Kitty Davy here, she found, normally, in her Christian upbringing, Jesus was over there and you tried to do whatever you could to get closer to him. But she found with Baba Baba was actually more eager to get closer to them than they were to him. In other words, Baba was actively courting them and trying to get closer to them than they were to him. So it's not like Jesus is there and he's kind of waiting for you to make the play from your side. She was very surprised, being, having grown up as a Christian, to find how eager Baba was, like Darwin has said, how eager he is to get closer to us. So that's very heartening. I always found that very affirmative. You're not trying to win his approval. He's, that type of thing. Okay. Anything to say to that?
Oh. Yes, Bob.
Yeah, this page that was just read, it seems to me that Darwin is talking about, it's almost looking at sublimation from another point of view. He's talking about letting go of limitations. I mean, when I think of reacting to an outward situation or a person, that's one thing. But then if something comes up in me that's just dealing with something that's in me, some limitation, some deep sense of guilt about something, or a want, a very strong desire, what do I do with that? And it to me, it's what you talked about in your letter when you talked about giving it energetically to Baba. That's beginning to make a little more sense to me. That and that's what I mean. How else to let go? How else to let go of it? But I mean, and sometimes I just have to shout it. I just have to shout about it. Go to Baba. When it's I'm sure there are many ways to try it, but sometimes it's the only choice that I can make. So if that makes any sense at
Yeah,
all.
excellent. Yeah, because this is like from stuff within our own self. What do we do? Sit around with the stuff floating around, or kind of move it toward Baba? And yeah, I mean, that was a major to Darwin, was this giving to Baba. That's because he would say Baba is impressionless being. So anything you give to him is a bundle of impressions of one form or another, and they dissolve in his impressionlessness. And that's really the fastest way to move into the unlimitedness of of Baba. She has to call in herself.
I have to call myself, and I just want to agree with Bob wholeheartedly. I'm wrestling with something I really, really want, but I know it's not time for something that I really, really want. So I decided to start trying to keep my heart open and scan my interior, which is very foreign to me, but I've been hanging around Jeff for a lot of time. So, and so I was scanning yesterday and I was scanning today, and I thought, I don't know what the hell to do with this. And so I just said, forget this, Baba, you take it. So I just keep saying, Baba, you take it. Every time it comes up, I don't know how to scan to deal with this. You gave it to me, you take it. So I just keep doing that too, Bob. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And that I call that Plan A. That's the fastest way to do it.
Do you see results, Marta? Do you see results?
Yeah, I get peace. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, as soon as I give it to Baba, it's like, oh, there. And then it comes back again because I really want some, the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely, Baba. It's weight off. Do you feel that, Bob?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, these
Yeah.
things do tend to come back, but they don't come back as strongly. I can tell every time it happens that it's lost some of its power, some of its ego power, whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I like the line from Rumi that I've said before. He who brought me here will have to take me home.
Nice.
That's Rumi. He who brought me here will have to take me home. Okay.
Anita.
I think, yeah, and with giving to Baba, one thing I've learned over the years is that giving to him doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go away. It's entrusting it that in his own way and in his own time, he's going to do what he wants with it. So it's truly that surrendering to him. And the visual I like to use is just like it's me and Baba, and we're just holding both our hands together and sometimes just resting our foreheads together. And it's essentially just, yeah, bowing to him and just, yeah, entrusting it to him, because I can't do anything. I'm nothing. I don't know. I'm helpless in that giving.
And you know, you think it's just a one-time deal, but there are layers and layers. So each time you give your anxiety about something to him, one layer of that anxiety is gone forever. But then there's a layer behind it that looks exactly like the one you just gave him. But don't be fooled. The ego wants you to think nothing happened. But then give him the next layer.
It's
and
the
next
dinner
layer.
plate phenomenon. The dinner plate.
Yeah. And over time, it gets thinner and thinner, more and more transparent. And I think we've all experienced that. We had really intense anxiety when we were back in our youth, and now it's much lighter, you know. We may had intense desire back then, it's gotten lighter. So it really does work.
Christina, did you have your hand up and took it down?
Oh, yeah, I was just curious. Jeff said that that was plan A. I was just wondering what plan B was.
Plan B is?
Yeah, for Jeff.
Plan B is where you're kind of taking the spiritual or psychological methods of freeing yourself up. You know, dwelling on things and trying to get to the bottom of them on your own. Plan A is you kind of just run the whole thing as much as you can to Baba. That's the shortcut. But if Baba isn't real for you in that moment, you know, your anxiety is so great that you can't feel Baba, then you have to kind of rely upon your own resources to kind of deal with it. And we're, you know, stuck with that. But when Baba becomes a little more real in the moment, then you can start offloading it to him. That's my feeling, yeah.
Thank you.
Arthur.
Oh, we can't
You're
hear you,
muted.
Arthur.
You're muted, Arthur.
There. Yeah, a word comes to my mind I've used for a long time, and it helps. It's like when you got a constant barrage of thoughts, like maybe negative thoughts or just stuff, you know, maybe you got on low energy and you're just thinking it's easier to think more negative. I like to just say, I am not that. I am not that. You know, that is not me. That, you know, that's the illusion, you know. You don't identify with it, you know. It's like, oh my God, you know, look how I am, you know. You can't do that. You know, the negative is always going to be negative. You just can't be sucked in by it, you know. It's, you want to realize that I am not that. I'm not these emotions. I am not these thoughts, you know, and identify with, you know, Baba, the real self, you know, the real self.
Excellent. That's
Ron? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeff.
Well, I was just saying that, Arthur, that's one of the foremost methods.
Yeah, because it's never going to stop, you know. It's going to. I don't know how y'all do, but you know, all day long, you know, it's just a constant barrage sometimes, and sometimes it's better. You get away from it, you get a moment of peace, but it's a battle, and there's an Indian behind every bush, you know, and it's the way it looks. That's the way it's going to be.
Excellent. Yeah. Someone,
Hello,
I'm
Ron.
getting an echo here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be my thing.
I think it's a reverb through Ron. He's got a great mic.
Yeah, it's not that great. Anyhow, I just wanted to. I'm glad that Arthur said something about identity, because I was thinking probably one of the most powerful limitations that we confront is having this ego identity. The ego has us identifying with various things, and once we identify it, it's hard to get out from under that. It sort of it just becomes like who we are, so to speak, you know. But it's I think the way out of it is to become Baba's, you know, become his instead of being ourselves.
Excellent.
Become
Yeah.
his being. And he says, you know, he wants us to realize that we belong to him. And if we keep remembering that, we don't need to belong to these various identities that the culture around us and our friends and people kind of feed us. They feed that ego. We don't really need to do that. Well, I mean, we have to become aware of it and get out from under it. That's all.
Yeah, we are not our anger. But it's very hard for that to be experiential, that we are not our anger.
I'm an angry person. You know what I mean? As soon as you say
Yeah.
that to yourself, guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. That's a
Arthur?
permanent stain on your trousers. Yeah.
I left out the other half of what I wanted to say. It's like the negative is always going to be negative. Well, what you do is you reaffirm the positive, what you are. You know, you can say I'm not this, I'm not that, but you reaffirm what you are, your true reality, your spiritual, your divine self, you're a divine son of God or daughter of God. You know, and just keep reinforcing the positive, and that keeps you from thinking the negative sometimes. You know.
Yeah. And that's the process of sublimation right there. Robert.
Yeah, I was thinking another plan B could be to pray to Baba for the willingness to let go of my resistance to letting his love in or letting his guidance in, and to ask for the humility to let go.
Yeah, I would say that's plan A there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
okay, then plan B is try plan A again.
Yeah. Excellent. Hey, so
Try it from a different angle.
So we're coming here to up to 11 o'clock. Should we read one more thing, or should we close up shop here?
Close up shop.
Close up shop?
I think
Yeah, let's
Sabine,
have.
I think Sabine should read one more paragraph because they all came all the way from Germany. It's 5 a.m. there.
Yeah, let's have Sabine read it, and then maybe a couple of comments, but just keep in mind that it's past 11 o'clock here on the East Coast.
Okay. An exchange process. Letting go of limitations requires not only paying attention to our thoughts and feelings and the illusory forces we allow ourselves to be swayed by. It also requires examining our values, especially at subjective levels, and exchanging relative or false values for more real values. We are working toward truth from a position of ignorance and falsehood, so it becomes a matter of a gradual exchange, exchanging one little aspect of falsehood for some aspect of truth. At each step along the way, the play of imagination lessens. We exchange something that is grossly ignorant for something that is less ignorant, less gross, and a little more real. And sometimes, with Baba's grace, we may even catch glimpses of reality itself. We have to go through this process because our values are mixed up with our desires, and the desires create a sort of delusive coloring over our values, which distorts them. In other words, we have a tendency to try to add truth to our desire nature, thus preserving our false self. So we have to sort out the truth or real values from the distorted values of the desire nature. The desires, of course, have to be outgrown or cast aside, but not repressed. In lieu of repression of desires, we can make good use of their energy by transforming and sublimating it into longing for God, longing for reality. For the aspirant, this is a natural and most desirable way of proceeding, sublimating energies from desires that are seen to lead only into illusion and bondage, the bondage of the soul. Thus, little by little, our mental consciousness undergoes a change. This is the gradual reconstitution process that Meher Baba refers to in the discourses. Since, as Baba says, all finiteness and limitation is subjective and self-created, it is in our own hands to work at subjective levels, especially the heart level, to correct what is false and replace it with the real.
Excellent.
Now, when I was reading that, I thought, how am I going to figure out where how does it call it?
Should we have
Sort of delusive colorings over our values, which distorts them. How do I figure that out? How to get rid of that aspect? Our values are mixed up with our desires, and the desires create a sort of delusive coloring over our values, which distorts them. In other words, we have a tendency to try to add truth to our desire nature, thus preserving our false self. And I thought, oh, great. That is just a little task aside, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Let's, Sarah, are you gonna give a shot at that?
Well, it reminded me of something I read in the discourses where I don't remember the chapter, but it stated very clearly that there are two ways of making a cognitive mistake. For example, we might get mixed up and say 2 + 2 = 5 instead of 4, and that would just be a simple cognitive error. But the other way we can make mistakes is if we or a cognitive mistake is if we our desires overlay the decision we're making. So say we want 2 and 2 to make 5. That would be a way we could mess something up, or and so that passage reminded me of what Baba said about how if we're making a decision, just check what our desires are. we might not be thinking rationally.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a line from Baba where he says, when you love, you give. When you fall in love, you want. That's where your desire for that person masquerades as kind of pure love. But Baba says, when you love, you give. So, but you people will say, that they love this person, but there's a lot of desire in there too, even possessiveness that comes in there. You know what I mean? So that you think, well, I love my husband here, but there's a lot of other things than love in there. A lot of desire that comes under the umbrella of love, of what we call love. I don't know. Does that help a little bit, Sabine?
Well, I hear what you say and I do understand it, but I wonder if I'm sort of in the middle of the desire and the emotion. Am I able to take it apart and see the two sides? I mean, maybe when I'm stepping back at a later point, I might be able to look at it and think, was that all really loving, or were there other aspects of desires in it? But I always have that problem. I find myself in the middle of a mess and I think, how did I get here?
Yeah, because sometimes
Where did I miss the turning off point or the stopping point? I'm always, in it, fully immersed. And then I think, now what, Baba? How did I
yeah.
get here?
Yeah, excellent. It's interesting because when we express love, there's a lot of it's an admixture of other things. I mean, so that, you think you're doing a loving thing, but then your pride and being recognized, and then that person doesn't appreciate what you did. And there's other things that get mixed up in there that get dragged in with the expression of love. These other, and we all kind of know that, and over time, the more we can get rid of the wanting and these other emotions from from kind of contaminating the pure love, and we're stuck. We're stuck because we have to respond, but our response has got love in it, but it also has selfishness in it. That's the So Darwin is saying try to separate those out a little bit so that the love gets separated from all of the baggage that comes with it. And that's the challenge.
That's Baba's job.
Yeah.
Anita, last word from you.
I just want to say one way that I find helpful to notice to tease out if it's a desire or not, or if it's with the desires, you're feeling like you're not complete. It's like the wanting machine. And so using that inner barometer to just sense and follow the feelings of like, okay, there's this unease, and then generally just pausing in those moments when we can. Sometimes it's after the fact, but pausing and noticing, okay, you can just feel the desires and within in that sense. And I notice that, for example, like when I'm sometimes doing work and getting stuff done around the house, it's like it can feel like almost this desire, like I want to do it all, I want to get the to-do list done, but you can feel that uneasiness versus like if you stop and actually I really do need a break and this is the loving thing to do. So that's just an example that I've noticed recently.
Yeah, excellent. And like I say, there's always, unfortunately, mixed motives in a lot of what we do. But sometimes you have to go forward with it because you can't just do nothing sometimes. And even though it's, you do something and someone doesn't appreciate it and you get hurt. Well, that means that there was a little bit of ego in it. There's the ego that's getting hurt. But it comes with the package, unfortunately, because usually if you do something out of love, you don't really care whether it's appreciated or not. But so when you get hurt, then there's, the ego's got a little bit of a part in the transaction. It worms its way in, But so separating those out, the love from the ego that's trying to get some appreciation in this little thing that we're doing. Hey, so let's anyone have a quote here, and then we'll have a moment of silence, and then something else we'll have.
I have a quick quote
that
I can share. I don't know if it pertains to what we're talking about, but Sarah was talking about 2 and 2 equals 5. I've heard Mae West say 2 and 2 equals 5 if you know how to work it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ego knows how to work it, believe me. Oh, we got the Frisco Kid up there.
Yeah, hi guys. Just very quickly, I have only one thing to say. This is, of course, all very, very challenging, very, very useful, very challenging. And I just thought the one remedy that we have at our in our toolbox, a very powerful tool, is to take Baba's name. It may sound cliche-ish or, okay, take Baba's name, but the power of Baba's name, Baba emphasizes the power of his name is immeasurable and will protect us from so many things. And he said that. So that's one of our, whenever we're struggling or stuck, take Baba's name.
Yeah. It neutralizes that ego that's trying to, get in there. And okay. Anyone, Goer, do you have something?
Yes, I do, Jeff. So in the subject that we are discussing today, I thought it's an old favorite of mine, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but it seemed appropriate. So here goes. Baba says and we have it in us. This is what I guess it means, that Baba's given us the means to make changes in our lives. And so the quote is, a new line in the divine picture is sketched only when some individual takes life forcefully in his hands, breaks up the old patterns, and insists on creating something new by his own inner vision. Jai Baba.
Yeah, this is a great quote. And say that one again. Take this one in. Yeah.
Yeah. A new line in the divine picture is sketched only when some individual takes life forcefully in his hands, breaks up the old patterns, and insists on creating something new by his own inner vision. Jai Baba.
Yeah. So it's not just he's encouraging us to be a little more proactive about this.
That's right.
And
yes.
not just
there you go.
It's all God's will. That
yes.
kind of and so let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Thank you all for, contributing and sharing it and the examples. I just feel really very helpful to tackle something from a lot of different angles. Hey, so Marta, do you have? I was thinking of. She's going to read something that is beautifully is something quite beautiful. Yeah. Uh-oh, you're on silence.
You're muted, Marta.
You were my unexpected when my life was ordinary. You walked into my life like you had always lived there, like my heart was a home built just for you. Now is where love breathes. My now is you. You are my love story, and I write you into everything I do, everything I see, everything I touch, and everything I dream. You are the words that fill my pages. I manage fine with no others around. I cannot manage without you. My heart bears your brand. It won't wander away from you. I was placed in this universe to love you. No matter my decisions, you will be my answer.
Who is that? Who is
Baba? Beautiful.
Marta?
Beautiful.
Who is that? Is that Rumi?
No, what are the first initials of Asher?
I think it's like A.J. Asher or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
But
poet that
beautifully, so simple and yet so deep. Yeah,
A-
yeah, do it once again, even though it keeps these people up late, but read it again once again.
you were my unexpected when my life was ordinary. You walked into my life like you had always lived there, like my heart was a home built just for you. Now is where love breathes. My now is you. You are my love story, and I write you into everything I do, everything I see, everything I touch, and everything I dream. You are the words that fill my pages. I manage fine with no others around. I cannot manage without you. My heart bears your brand. It won't wander away from you. I was placed in this universe to love you, and no matter my decisions, you will be my answer.
I've never heard
Beautiful.
it.
Beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, look her up. She has gorgeous little things.
Yeah,
Then you
beautiful.
put it together for Baba, and there you go.
It's a
Yeah,
is a woman.
Yes.
Beautiful. So thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank Jeff.
Okay, folks. Hey, who is NAMS A?
What about Nasreen?
Oh, yes, Nasreen.
Well, let's find out who NAMS A is first. Who is NAMS A?
Okay.
Is that Nasreen?
Yes.
Oh, there's NAMS A right there. Hello.
Yes. Guess who?
Oh, hey, fantastic. This is from Pune. Are you in Pune now?
Yeah, I'm in Pune now.
Yeah.
I don't know why the
Beautiful.
background is.
Yeah. You seem like you're trying to climb up into the into the picture.
But understand why this has come up as a background. This is like just a, fake background.
Yeah.
But I've been following up with everything. And I'm so glad I'm actually here, Jeff, to see you again.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well,
And for
I
me,
hope.
it's like,
Go ahead.
yeah, for me, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. So I've been with you since 7:30. And it's my morning time. Generally, do not have time in the mornings, but today I'm so glad I've caught up because I'll be traveling next week to London, and I won't be able to attend these meetings. So just to see you, it's just to connect with you again. I think Baba just got me here. I'm
Oh,
glad.
good. I hope to be there in India on the 12th of October till
Oh, great.
till the 22nd of November. So if you're back from England, I will see you for sure at Mehrabad.
Or if you come to England, are you planning to
No,
come
I'm
to London?
bypassing England. Yeah, going
Hmm.
through the
I-
Air Emirate. Well, let's we have Nasreen. She's the
Thank you,
one
Jeff.
who. Yeah, great to see you. Lovely to see you. Nasreen,
Yes, sir. I'm here.
we're ready.
Yes. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba,
Jai
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Thank you,
Hey,
Jeff.
Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you,
Thank
Jeff.
you all, folks.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
really, I really appreciate everybody sharing. And see you next week, Baba willing, that the Earth is still here and rotating around the sun, you know? Yeah,
Hey,
Jai
Baba.
Baba. Jay Baba.
Baba.
Thank
Jay
you,
Baba.
Jefferson.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Baba.